there was, let's say this, there's been this odd, bizarre narrative centered around COVID and how it spreads and who is impacted, what the actual vaccine, I think, has been the actual conversation. What does the vaccine actually do in terms of prevention? It sounds like more than ever, it's more of a mitigator, or it makes the symptoms less severe, as opposed to being like a classical making you immune to, let's say, a virus per se. CDC themselves. So YouTube overlords, Facebook overlords. This isn't one of those, or you can say I'm spreading misinformation. The people that you say that we're supposed to listen to, which are crooked as shit, albeit, and it's sad that we got to kind of talk around that in order for our videos to stay up. And we have to make disclaimers like that. But according to the crackheads that you tell us to listen to, this is what they said. CDC study shows 74% of people infected in Massachusetts COVID outbreak were fully vaccinated. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Process it real quick. CDC studies show 74% of people infected in Massachusetts COVID outbreak were fully vaccinated. Now, this isn't necessarily like the splitting of the atom. I want to make sure that's clear. We covered a story not too long ago where it was New Jersey, and we were talking about deaths then. And it was a group of them, like 50, if I'm not mistaken, of people that were, some of them had issues. Actually, most of them did, underlying issues, that had the jab, but what was on their death certificate was COVID, despite being fully vaccinated. So as it states right here, we're reading this from CNBC. About 3/4 of people infected in a Massachusetts COVID-19 outbreak were fully vaccinated. The new data published in the U.S. agency's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report also found that fully vaccinated people who get infected carry as much of virus in their nose as unvaccinated people. Let's repeat that one more time. Of course, this subject matter is going to be absolutely buried by the people who have spread so much doom and gloom towards the unvaccinated people. I'm going to repeat that one more time for you. I want to make sure that you understand what's taking place here. The new data published in the U.S. agency's Morbidity, and Mortality Weekly Report also found that fully vaccinated people who get infected carry as much of the virus in their nose as unvaccinated people. About 3/4, as it mentions again here, the new data published in the U.S. agency's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report also found that fully vaccinated people who get infected carry as much of the virus in their nose as we just mentioned. Ain't that something else? This is concerning, they say. I mean, it wasn't experts that said kind of this would be a likely scenario. The ones that you laughed at, the rooms, the one that you said were quacks. It's not like they mentioned that or anything. But now the people who seem to always be late to the party, the WHO, the CDCs of the world, where they say, oops, my bad. Maybe we got this damn thing wrong. Says the CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, said in a statement, the masking recommendations was updated to ensure the vaccinated public would not unknowingly transmit virus to others, including their unvaccinated or immunocompromised loved ones. On Tuesday, the CDC reversed course its prior guidance, and we know about this. We've covered that. This is going into last week, a little over a week ago, if I'm not mistaken, by now, where they had talked about basically with just up and changing the masks stuff, saying that if you are fully vaccinated, it's almost like they don't know what the fuck's going on. While the Delta variant continues to hit unvaccinated people the hardest, unvaccinated people the hardest, some vaccinated people could be carrying higher levels of the virus than previously understood and are potentially transmitting it to others. She added, the variant behaves uniquely different from past strains of the virus. Does it? Does it? I mean, does it though? Like, I mean, I'm asking that genuinely. Like, it's all this could be potentially. See, I don't know. I feel like they're, being part of the conversation. We should be talking about, has this been the case all along, or were you just fucking selling us a bunch of bullshit? Look, as I've said before, when we talk about the subject matter, it's the problem and why this got as bad as it did is because there was only one acceptable narrative. That was always the problem. It was always one acceptable narrative. They said that if it came from like the WHOs of the world, the CDCs of the world, no matter if they got it wrong, they can, like we know right now, contradict themselves from what they said, and they get to use the excuse, or rather their worshippers get to use the excuse of, well, the science changed. Maybe the science didn't change. Maybe you just were late to the party. And this is why conversations as such are so important, man. It's so important for us to be in a situation where we can freely have some dialogue instead of you just saying anybody that says anything to the contrary of the CDC or the WHO is spreading mis or disinformation. That's the problem with that. That's the issue. And now you're seeing it where they get to be late, where they contradict. Oh, well, maybe it's acting a little more different than what we thought with this whole vaccine stuff. It looks like you guys are just as likely to spread the shit, or at least at minimum, not as protected as we initially thought. And they get to just say that. And it's like, oh, well, okay, CDC said it must be true now. Like I've said, man, there's a possibility that you guys have to take into consideration. And that is that truth is truth, no matter if you were late to the discovery of it, because the discovery of it doesn't rest upon you. You wanting to come to terms with it finally. That the truth doesn't work like that. Now, you may have changed, and every individual is, definitely in this field, I'd imagine, changing your positions is important, and you can do that. The problem is that there are people that were right on this all along, but they got shunned because they weren't part of maybe the public health experts, alphabet organizations. So what we've had really with COVID-19, and you can, whether you agree or disagree on who should or how often people should be taking these vaccines, whatever, that's irrelevant. At minimum, you'd have to concede that there's been a lot of, how do I say this? There's been a lot of issues with the conversation in itself, and the dialogue has really been centered more so around appealing to authority. Not actually finding the truth, not attempting to find the truth. Certainly, it's more of an appeal to authority, as in it has to come from this organization. It has to come from these groups of people in order for it to be seen as legitimate, in order for it to be seen as something that's actually truth. And that's not how it works. It's blatant logical fallacy. It is an appeal to authority. So, just to recap, they found out that 74% of the people that were infected were fully vaccinated. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.